Thank you, Barb. All kinds of problems tonight. What is this one? That's that one in the corner. Okay. Thanks for the like, Barb. I can toggle between cameras by turning one on and it back off. Okay. That's good enough. That's good enough. We'll make do with what we have going on right now. I don't need this camera on at the moment. How's everybody doing tonight? What's going on? Welcome to episode 230 of the MailleWerX Chainmail Livestream. My name's Sean. I run MailleWerX.com, where you can find all the chainmail themed apparel that your heart desires. So, how was everyone's day? What'd you guys do today? I've got a new what do you call it? Proposed streaming schedule. All right. Because my kid is in baseball, that means on Mondays and Wednesdays I am out until later in the evening than I would prefer. So we come home, feed the kid, get him ready for bed, yada yada yada. Finish up all the rest of the daily stuff that didn't get done throughout the day. And I am finding it difficult to get to a point where I can come home and stream. So, for the remainder of baseball season, which I think it's like 2 months, you want to play cribbage this afternoon? I do not know how to play cribbage. But, well, I'll tell that story in a minute. So, from now until the end of baseball season, which is, I think it's like 2 months. So we're on what? Week 2? And this goes, I think, till the end of June. That will... In June, we will reassess if, you know, try to get back from 3 nights a week to 2 nights, or to 5 nights a week. We'll see how it goes. You had to drop your car off at the mechanics? Oh no. Need brakes done? Had to walk home tonight? Have to walk into work in the morning? Well, hopefully the weather is nice and hopefully you are safe. But yes, I have seen people play cribbage. I have had it explained to me, but I have never played it myself. When I was in the military, I had some friends who both knew how to play cribbage, and they played for several hours out in the field very often whenever we were out there. Cribbage is awesome. I haven't played against a human in quite some time. You can kick the computer's butt regularly. Nice. It's one of those games. Okay, so when I was growing up, I lived in a small rural town, and there wasn't enough of anything to do anywhere when I was growing up there. It started, the population when I moved there was about 3,000 people. And over the next, 2.5 decades, I think they're up to like 20,000 now? 15,000, something like that. So it's grown tremendously, right? And there is more stuff to do now. But when I was growing up, there was nothing to do out there for part of my youth. So we would spend weekends with nearby relatives, and my mother and my stepdad and my sister, they would all go and play the farming game or pinochle. They were big pinochle players. I don't remember them playing cribbage, but they loved board games. And they would play for hours while me and my 2 uncles played with Legos, or played outside, or stayed out of the way. You've been playing Since you were old enough to count, parents heard us kids playing our version of cribbage when we were younger and decided it was time to teach us the actual rules. Nice. I have... I can play Go Fish. I can get a deck of cards and I can play Go Fish with someone. I know how to set up solitaire. Hey Rick, how you doing? But as far as games like Rummy or Gin or Poker or any of that, we played them growing up, but I couldn't tell you. And Pinochle. Pinocle's been explained to me 100 times. And Spades. Spades has been explained to me 100 times. A lot of guys in the military play Spades. And I couldn't tell you how to play those games now. I'm terrible at them. I'm the like, you don't want to be my partner in a game of Pinochle or Spades. I'll just tell you that right now. Excuse me. So there is your warning. I did manage to catch my son cheating at battleships the other day. So, but he sunk 3 of my battleships, and I hadn't hit a single one of his, and I had half the board covered in white pegs to show where I had struck, and I was like, there is an impossibility, right? Like, there's not enough. I have so many white pegs in the marker board that there was not enough room for him to have the ship that has 5 spots in it. So I was like, no, bro. Alright, Spades is another card game we have to learn. Haven't played that one in age either. Yeah. You're 29 again, right? Easy to remember because I'm that age too. Oh, happy birthday, Barb. Congratulations on being 29. Oh, man. So, you remember how I was talking about how I sit here and I can never think of things? Well, I finally thought about something that I wanted to talk to you about on stream. Something that is near and dear to my heart. So, my son plays Fortnite. And he's gotten pretty good. He's been playing for a couple years. There is a if you don't play if you never played Halo, there's a character named Master Chief, and he's got this like spacesuit armor on. And he runs around with a machine gun, and my son was intrigued. He wanted to play Halo. Like, all right. Well, we'll get on there. It's just 2 people playing. It can be a lot of fun, whether you're in campaign or multiplayer. So I got the Xbox all set up. We sat down and played a little bit of the campaign to show him. And then we went to the multiplayer. And I think I killed that kid like 5 times in a row. And he got super pissed off, right? But that was largely because I knew the tricks of the game. I knew the level I was on. There's a rocket launcher. There's a sniper rifle. And I was able to locate those fairly quickly because I remember from having played. And this is a game I played while I was in Iraq. So we would play that to pass the time. Everybody had their Xbox, and they had all these adapters. We got the radio security team to show up and connect all the Xboxes with whatever telephone wire that they had. And we would play for hours. Many guys would play much, much more than I would. This is back when Halo was first coming out. And so they all got really good, and I usually just went in there and got my ass handed to me most of the times. But today, I was up when playing against my 7-year-old son. And it was fun, just kicking his little ass all over the place. But I realized that the only reason I had an advantage was because I knew how to play the game. And I had played that level hundreds of times before, right? When it came down to, like, 2 people shooting at each other in an enclosed space, he is much better than me at it. Right? So I learned very quickly not to go into a room where he was at, just to throw grenades around the corner and hope for the best. But he's going to pick up on the game, probably fairly quickly, and he is very soon going to be much better at it than I ever was. So, alright. It was nice. It was nice to get to do a little bit of video game, have a little video game fun time. I have too much stuff to do to sit and play video games, but any chance I can get really to go hang out with my kid when he wants to hang out with me, I try to make it a point to hang out with him because he's 7 and he's not, you know, not going to want to hang out with his dad when he's older and is cool and I'm lame, so I take what I can get. And then one of the other things that I remembered I wanted to tell you guys, I did post about it, so you probably already saw it, but there is a vehicle called an International Scout 2. It is a big, boxy, ugly, shitty 70s vehicle, right? But it has an iconic look. And it was made by International Harvester. Used to beat up your son on Command & Conquer years ago. It's about the only game you like. He's a shooter Halo-style gamer. I'm a football racing game. Nice. Yeah, I can still take him to task on like Mario Kart and stuff. But it's gonna be him surpassing me in video game ability. It's gonna be quick. It makes me think I should have spent some more time beating him down when he first started getting into video games, you know? Hey Rick, how's that project you were working on stream coming along? The Color Dream Catchers? Didn't work on it tonight. Today was Laser Day. Laser Day. Alright. Come on. Speaking of lasers, I need to send you some of those class to put my logo, laser my logo onto them. So anyway, International Harvester Scout 2. There's a Scout 1 and a Scout 2. And they're just big, ugly, boxy SUVs. But the really cool part is that the top comes off from the windshield back, right? And just as I am excited about the Bronco, the new Bronco, I'm intrigued by what is going on with the Scout. Okay, I'm not convinced that I will ever own a new Scout. I would love to have a retro modded 1972 International Scout 2. I've been wanting one of those for a long time, and then the Bronco came out, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll get one of those. But Volkswagen bought Navistar, which owned the name Scout. They didn't make a vehicle, right? And Case bought International Harvester, So anyway, a bunch of different companies broke up International Harvester now, and Volkswagen now owns the Scout name. And they are going to make an electrical vehicle with the Scout. Now, I have my own thoughts on electric vehicles. I think, you know, for the most part, they're toys, right? I mean, I've delved into the math behind it, right? And the way people talk about how, you know, everyone's going to drive an electric vehicle, blah, 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 right? You know, our ships are going to ship using electrical vehicles, or diesel trucks are going to be electrical vehicles. We're going to have electric vehicle fleets and yada, yada, right? I don't see that happening. I think it's a pretty silly goal to have, right? But the idea of a Scout being a toy, you know, and an electric vehicle, you know, I'm okay. I might look into getting one for fun. You know, not that, don't get me wrong, I couldn't go out and buy one right now. It's going to be one of those, I just kind of dream about it. It's kind of cool that it's happening. So, the fact that VW is making it, right? They've said they made, you know, a couple prototype drawings, and they want to make a EV out of it. Okay, fine. My excitement comes because Volkswagen makes a really good diesel engine. Despite all the diesel problems they had in the past, it's still a good engine. So if they were to put the original International Scout 2s came with a diesel Nissan 6-cylinder engine, right? So if Volkswagen put one in there, I would be very excited to have one of those. That would be really cool. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Volkswagen is ever going to sell diesels in the United States ever again because of their emissions problems that they had a couple years ago. But a man can always dream. And that's what I want. I want Volkswagen to make a diesel Scout. And it's got to have two other things. It's got to look very similar to the original Scout, right? Like big, ugly, blocky body. And then the roof has to come off from the windshield back. Otherwise, I won't be interested. So, that happened. I think it's cool. Just the idea of a 72, 73 retro modded International Scout 2. I'd be down with that. You know, I can continue on with that as my life goal. Because let's face it, the Bronco Raptor with the 3.7 liter EcoBoost engine, I think it's $90,000. And I'm not going to be in a position to buy one anytime soon. So unless by a stroke of luck, right? Like, I got my F-150 at a decent price, and it was the wrong color, right? But everything else about the truck was exactly what I wanted. And it's been a great truck. But, you know, it will, I don't know, I'm assuming it will die eventually. I'll have to get something else. And so maybe by that time, they'll have enough used Broncos laying around with decent mileage that I can scoop one up for a decent price, because I will probably never own a new one. Speaking of my truck, so recently I had the brakes done by my brother-in-law's shop, and shortly after that the shocks in the back started going, and I wasn't sure if I could take it on the highway. It was rattling really bad, so I took it to a local place here where I knew that I needed a new starter, and they diagnosed the shocks for what they were. But this is the shop that told me that my brakes, there was something wrong with them, like they had been corroded by something. And so I took it back up and down to my brother-in-law's shop, and he said, no, they're fine, there's nothing wrong with them. And you know, I trust my brother-in-law a whole lot, so I was like, I don't want to go back to this shop ever. Just, you know, it seems sketchy that they are telling me I need brake work when I just had it done, right? But the starter that I had put in, it's starting to grind again. So I wouldn't put it past the shop to, I don't know, maybe put in a used one or something. I don't. And just based off the fact that they were sketchy before. Like, maybe they weren't. Maybe they were legitimately concerned about my brakes, and maybe the starter not working less than 6 months after I had it put in is just a fluke, and maybe it's not their fault, right? But I don't really believe in coincidences, and I think that putting my truck in their hands again is a bad idea. So I'm kind of irritated, but it is what it is. I'll take it down to my brother-in-law and have him look at it, because I need 2 other things fixed on my truck, and I might actually have the money for that here in the future. So my rear defrost stopped working, I don't know, a while ago, and my blinker is doing the whole rapid blinky thing, and I changed out the bulbs, and that's about all I'm good for. So, like, changing out bulbs is operator level. I can handle that. I'm not going to go trying to find what socket's what and try to further diagnose the problem. I've already told my brother-in-law, I was like, yeah, you can tell me all day long what you think it is over the phone, but I'm not going to do anything about it. So I'm going to bring it to your shop and pay you to do it, because here's the thing. When it comes to, like, mechanical stuff, electronics, plumbing, and I'm talking like electrical wiring stuff, okay? Like, yes, I can go and spend 1,000 hours on YouTube figuring out what is going on, okay? But that's a huge waste of my time, and it would just be simpler for me to take it to an expert who can do it right the first time, without me going through, screwing it up, diagnosing, screwing it up, and then finally getting to an end result. I have done a lot of things like that in the past, and it can be a fun, enjoyable experience, but there are people who know how to do this stuff, and I don't need to put my truck at, I don't need to screw up my truck myself, you know what I mean? You've been a sketchy mechanics before too. Went to get a muffler done. The guy told me with a straight face that parts are kind of hard to find when the car you were driving at the time was probably 5 or 6 years old. Eesh. You slow working on your car? Other than that, when it would break down, other than when it would break down, but you could do it. Not just too old to be getting down under it. Inner ear thing doesn't help. Yeah, but Wanted to tell him if I had 2 balls instead of 2 tits, he wouldn't have told me that. Isn't there like a whole YouTube series on mechanics doing that to women? Like they'll find a sketchy shop and just send in their sneak customer. You know, their pretend customer. See if they try to rip her off. I think there is. Oh. Alright. And I've had shady mechanics before too, but I had really good ones down in Texas. Working on my Mitsubishi Diamante, which was my black car with a black leather interior that I bought while I lived in Louisiana. And a black car with a black leather interior is a really dumb thing to drive in San Antonio, Texas, especially when the air conditioning sucks. But I did have some good mechanics down there to work on it, so when it did eventually break down after, I don't know, 10 or 11 years of owning it. You trust the guy you go to now for car work? Good. I think it's harder to do that to people, like, people are wise to the way things work a little more, you know, as information gets spread. And the shady mechanics don't try pulling that shit on a guy the way they try on a woman. Yeah. Oh man, ruined that ring. Like I said, I think there's a whole YouTube channel dedicated to outing shady mechanics who take advantage of their customers. So, and I've actually got to take one of our other cars down to my brother-in-law. So I'm going to be just making trips to his shop for a little bit. So what else is going on? I am waiting on a phone call from the VA. Apparently I have one more appointment that I have to schedule. And if it's anything like the last appointment, it'll be 6 weeks before I get any notification. So, I'm just kind of... I'm expecting it to be at a minimum a 6-month process. Unless they can get me in an appointment in the next 2 weeks, well, the next 2 weeks it'll have been 6 months. Right? It's supposed to be 90 days. For sure, I think they try to read a guy first and go for it if they feel it like it, but it seems like they don't even hesitate on women. I always go with my girls to the shop if they need it, yeah. Well, I hope my son is mechanically inclined, because I don't know enough about cars to know what's wrong with one. Like, I remember working on cars with my dad, but not very much. And I tried to fix up my dad's. He had a Honda XL 350 Enduro. It's a little street bike / dirt bike combo thing from the 70s. And I rebuilt the car and I put a battery in it, and it turned over, and I even rode it around the block once, but I never got it to where it would continuously run, and then I don't remember what happened on that project. My dad ended up selling it a few years later after I had left for the military, but... And then I did some just like upkeep work on a boat engine. We have a few shows here called Marketplace and W5 that has done many hidden camera investigations on shady mechanics. Good. Yeah, so I worked on a couple cars with my dad and my stepdad. I worked on some of the stuff on a car I can do, and I had to do it when I was younger when I couldn't afford a mechanic. But now it's just like, with all the fuses and wiring and computers and whatnot, it's above my pay grade, so take it to the mechanic and call it a day, because I'm not. If I get in there, I'll screw something up, and then I'll have two problems instead of one, and I don't need that on my regular driving vehicle. Never owned a car. You know the difference between where the gas goes and the wash fluid goes. Don't ask you about anything beyond that. You've never owned a car? Do you drive at all? I had a friend who had never driven before he joined the military, and he was in his mid-30s. Do you know where the blinker fluid goes? Have you collected any exhaust samples recently? Check the air quality. Yeah. I don't remember the guy's name. But yeah, he lived in New York. He didn't have to walk anywhere, or he didn't have to drive anywhere, because everywhere he lived, everywhere was within walking distance, which, you know, it's kind of nice. Next he's going to ask about winter air in the tires. That's right. Nope, had your learner's permit a few times, never actually did the road test, so you've never driven either. Do you live in an area where it's easy to get around? Like, is public transportation available? And do you take a Uber or a taxi somewhere if you got to go somewhere? That's interesting. I learned to drive as soon as I could, and then left where I was to go somewhere else. Yep, I did a lot of, I did a bit of couch surfing when I was a teenager. So having a car was, and where I lived, it was rural, so if you wanted to go anywhere, you had to have a car to get anywhere. Otherwise, you were stuck at home, yeah. Your sister's awesome about driving where you need to go, but public transit is great. From driving age while in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, you couldn't wait to get your license, yeah. Let's see here. I was living in Middleton, Idaho. Got the boot from my mom's house. Went and stayed with my dad. Learned to drive that year. And then after that, I was all over the place. Like I said, Middleton had like 3,500 people in it, so I spent the next year, though, driving to the high school there, which was dumb. But it is what it is. You don't know you've made mistakes until after the fact. I should have switched to the Boise High School District when I was a sophomore, because then I could have continued like the welding program I was in out in Middleton. But I was going to school about an hour away from my dad's place, so I'd get up every morning, drive to school, come do, wrestling, cross-country, track, whatever, and then had a job on the weekends for, Yeah, doing all that. And it was a waste of time to drive an hour to school and an hour back. Like, first off, that was dumb. Waste of time and gas. Like, just go to a nearby school. It's like, oh, but I don't want to leave my friends, blah, blah, blah. And they're great people, don't get me wrong. I'm in contact with many of them today. Thanks, Facebook. But, no, I drove to school for an hour, for about a year. And that, I was in the agricultural, welding shop, mechanical sort of classes, and farm stuff. Learned a lot about cows. Not that I remember any of it, but that's what they do in rural areas. They have a lot of cows, and you get to learn about them in school. So I was still in that program, and then when I switched high schools, the program that was closest to that, I think they only had a welding class, wasn't actually at the high school, it was at the college in town, and it was full. So that led me down this path to life, where I essentially just, screw that, did as little as possible in high school. And knowing what I know now, I'm glad. You learned how to milk a goat in Iowa. Alright, what was I saying? Knowing what I know now. I'm glad I spent as little time in high school as I did. So, not that there weren't fun times, but that's about all there was. Everything was long and boring and dreary, and with a few minutes of levity in between classes and a few friendships made, that is the about extent of the value I got out of high school. So I am glad I wasted my time. I should have just quit, got my GED, and gone and done anything else. But like most things, I don't, everybody goes to school. Everybody graduates, That was, and sure, having a high school diploma has been beneficial, but I was qualified to go flip burgers and fry fries with a high school education. Whereas other people were finishing high school and already had like their welding apprenticeship started and all that fun stuff. So there wasn't like a career goal when I went to school for me. Some people had career goals and they went on to go to college and get those things, But I didn't know what to do. I didn't have any skills and I didn't have any training, and the the career counselor at Boise High, I don't think I ever talked to him except like before graduation or something. They asked me if I was going to go to college. I just laughed at them. I don't have the money for that. He walked in off the street to one of the local manufacturers with a high school diploma and got a job. And that would be perfectly legitimate. Be one of those things to do. But there are no major manufacturing plants in Idaho that I'm aware of. There is J.R. Simplot potatoes. There's Micron, which you need. You might only need a high school diploma. I have no idea to get started there. Right. And there may have been the opportunity to do that, to walk into, you know, somebody's shop and get started. But I never located any of those jobs or had any idea how to do it. I was a 16, 17, 18-year-old dumbass with enough money to get by and transportation. And so I wasn't really concerned about the seriousness of, you know, my future. You can't do that anywhere in the States now. Everyone wants 20 years experience and a 4-year degree. All right, Barb, have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, 20 years experience and a 4-year degree for an entry-level job. Yup. And they want to pay you ducats. I am not interested in those jobs. It's like, I have a degree, I have experience, and the degree got me through 18 years of a career. And now I'm going to move on to something else, so at least that's my goal. Thanks for an awesome end to your birthday. You're very welcome. Happy birthday, Barb. Happy 29th birthday. Thanks for hanging out with us. I am glad I got to stream on your birthday and that you got to be here. Alright. Speaking of birthdays, my birthday's coming up here. Mine and my son's right around the same time. A couple weeks of each other. And my niece and nephews. All within like 2 weeks of each other. So I don't know if they're in town. And I don't know if I'll be in town. My brother's coming from Okinawa to be in the States for a month, so I'm going to try and get out to Idaho to see him. So and that will be in like July, August sometime. I'm not 100% sure when. Alright. But it'll be good to see him. I think it's been 3 or 4 years since the last time he was in town. The last time he was in town, my mom was alive, so it's been at least 3 years since he came home. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I left Middleton, I went to Boise, and then I didn't have a direction or a purpose in life. And then my best friend from Boise went to college, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to sit around here with my thumb up my ass, just being a moron. So my sister had joined the military previously and had seen good results. So I was like, all right, well, I'll go join the army. Right? And so I did. And then I left a couple months later for the army, and I did that for a number of years. And that got me my nursing license. And so I had a job and I had experience, and when I got out of the military, I had the army to pay for college, and I finished up my nursing degree, which was dumb. I should have done anything. I did try to do mechanical engineering, but for starters, I was a slow learner and am bad at college when I was trying to do that, and it took me a while to figure out how to go to school to learn, because the teachers, I was constantly having to use outside resources to figure out what I had to do to pass according to the syllabus, right? Because a lot of it was not in class. So I struggled with mechanical engineering, and then I found out that the school I was going to, UTSA, is not a mechanical engineering school, and that there are much better programs to go to. But I was already accepted there, and I just needed to finish up my gen eds, and then I could go do 2 years of nursing school, and then that would be it. So 5 years later, I finally got a degree. And when I went to nursing school, this was the best part. Everything I had learned to become an LPN was still the same to become an RN when I went to nursing school. So you have these LPNs out here. They spend like a year going to LPN school. And I spent 2 years going over the same stuff in RN school. I could not point to a single difference in stuff I had learned. And that was probably the biggest joke about my education, is that I had to go through it twice in order to get paid more. Like, I had all the experience, I had the education, and I studied hard in nursing school. But I had already done it once, and so it was easier. And by that time, I had learned how to learn, which is a process I'd never had in school before. So by the time I got to it, nursing school was, I wouldn't call it a breeze, but I did make it through and graduate with honors, so. So here, and I've only had my degree for 8 years now. So I spent 10 years as an LPN, 8 years as an RN, and now I'm looking to do something else. Oh, did I stop the music? Did I break it? No, it's going. So the point of the story is that I did try to go do something else besides nursing. But I was taking a class on the design software that they use, AutoCAD or whatever. And the teacher's assistant taught the class. What I didn't catch on to was that I'd never really had the internet growing up. Well, we had it, but I didn't know how to use it. I didn't have it long enough to really figure anything out until I was in the military, right? Excuse me. So, like, I get out of the military, and all these younger college kids, are a decade younger than me, are doing this drafting course with me. Doing this AutoCAD course, and the teacher's assistant's going a mile a minute, right? And it turns out that all these kids were doing really well in the class because they were just going and watching YouTube videos of people on how to do stuff. I was like, oh, not at no point in time during the year or the semester I spent in that class did I think to go to YouTube, right? Because everything I needed to know was in my textbook, right? No, it was not in my textbook. So after that, like, I got a C in that class or something. And it was... The final grade was kind of an issue. Because I'd managed to get everything done up to standard, but like the final grade, or the final exam or test or design that I submitted was not good enough, and that lowered my grade significantly. And that was really like the first time I had met the teacher. So I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done going to school here for engineering, because very clear that they're not interested in teaching, and they're not helping me get to where I need to go. So, which, I don't know, kind of torn on. You all have a great night. Gotta head on out. All right, Rick, thanks for hanging out. I do appreciate you being here. Kind of torn, just because I was a dumbass kid, didn't have any direction, joined the army. Okay, got a little bit of direction, got out, thought I was going in a direction, and then that completely turned into another direction. So I don't know, it made me kind of really good at making chainmail, is what it did, in various parts of the world. And so I hope that I'm able to provide my kid with more direction than I got from my parents. Not, not that they were bad parents or anything, but let me put it like this. In terms of how the world works, right? They knew some stuff about it, but they didn't know how to apply anything out of it. Any of their knowledge in the real world applications, right? Like, my dad always worked for someone else. He could have started his own business, but he did not. Wow, where'd that go? And my mom, well, I don't think she struggled for work. She was a drug and alcohol therapist for a long time, and she always worked in somebody else's practice or for somebody else. And I think that was kind of how that whole drug and alcohol, the types of patients she dealt with, she worked with specifically. I think she had to work in a state approved clinic or something. Right. But they struggled for forever in figuring out what they wanted to do with their lives, and they were unable to provide me with any direction. And then there's the question of whether my dumbass would have listened anyway, which probably not, but it would have been nice to have something. So I have managed to keep myself alive through all of that, through all these past several years. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes moving forward. So I think there's kind of some stuff going on. Like, I got my VA claims put in because I knew that my company wasn't going to keep unjabbed people. Okay. So I got that started. I got a decent tax return. I got a decent vacation paycheck when I got terminated. So that's kept me going up until now. Right? And now all my VA stuff's finally finishing up. So, like, everything's kind of coalescing into being able to move forward and not work for anybody else. So, like, things are just happening at the right time. You know, I need to go and see my brother, right? And that check we got for, what do you call it? That escrow check. That surprise escrow check. It's like, oh, hey. That would be perfect for plane tickets in August. So, I've got to just keep all that going. All right, where are we at here? We're at an hour. All right. So, like I did mention at the beginning of the show, if you weren't here, I am probably going to be switching to a Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday streaming for the next 6 weeks because of baseball. I get home from baseball on Wednesdays, on Mondays and Wednesdays, and there's just too much stuff for me to get done before 9 to get down here. So I will get that all figured out. And then afterwards we'll go back to 5 nights a week. But I am going to keep working on stuff and hopefully get some stuff done. I did all the so I got all the pendants, I got all the beads for the bracelets, right? So, and I've got the rings coming in, and I've got clasps, and so I'm gonna be making a bunch of those here in the next little bit. And I'm hoping to get that knocked out fairly quickly. We'll see. And then, of course, there's all the rest of the projects that I've ignored for a decade. So I don't know what we'll be working on next. We are going to run out of rings for this project, so I'll have to order more. I'm hesitant to order from the Ring Lord right now, just because of this batch of rings is so awful. But I'll do it again if I have to. But I'm not gonna order any more rings for this until after I get this next batch of bracelets done and necklaces. So that's what I'm gonna be as soon as I'll probably. How many rings do I have left? I've got quite a bit. I should just throw this project aside and start working on the bracelets now, or once I get all the rest of the rings in. Right. But all the stuff for bracelets and necklaces should be here this week. I'm going to try and get those knocked out. And then, yeah, and then it's more website work. Yay. The never-ending website work. Okay. I'm going to try and finish up this row here real quick. And then, of course, I would like to start welding some rings. I want to play with my welder. It is summertime. So we're going to have family stuff to do outside. You know, the 3 months out of the year here in Wisconsin where you can go and do stuff. So, and, oh man. Okay, so I was mowing the lawn last week and I broke out in a rash, right? I am still like broken out in that rash. So I've got to, it is doing better. And I am putting some medication on it, so. It should be gone here a little bit, but I am a little gun shy about going out and mowing the yard again this week. I'm not gonna lie. But if I do get that VA appointment and get all my VA stuff cleared up, then next time I go to the VA, I need it to be inflamed so that I can get the medication I've been using for it. So, have to do this at least once again. Maybe I'll just go roll around in the grass before I go. Alright. And this coif, it's becoming something. We're getting somewhere. It's so brutal to fix each ring. Like I should, and this is like par for the course about. Here I am wasting my time screwing up rings when I could have just sent them back and insisted on ones that weren't so jacked up, right? And been a lot farther along than I am now on this. So the bulk of the time is spent closing rings, or getting rings to line up correctly. But no, I gotta do it the hard way. Why? It's part of my charming personality. So here's a warning. If there's ever any thing that you have to do with me, just know that I have a natural tendency to make it harder and overly complicated than it needs to be. So there's your warning. glad I finished this row. Finishing up isn't taking that long. But, I mean, you heard me talking about why I don't work on my own car. Right, because I'm not an expert, and I'll just make it more complicated than necessary. That is, it's, you know, it's part of my charm. Man, I must have talked a lot this stream. My throat's dry. All right. I need to look into some really small ceramic beads. I can just kind of deburr this thing. I'm gonna throw it in the tumbler for like a week. But I know that ceramic is abrasive, right? Is it abrasive enough to where I left it in, if I left this piece in the tumbler for, you know, an unknown period of time, would I come back and this has just been eaten up by the ceramic? Like, what is the tolerance of tumbling with ceramic? I'm gonna have to look that up because I would be really pissed if I did all of this and then tumbled it with some ceramic and then you know, like this just like dissolved from the ceramic beating it to death, which like I don't think that can happen, but I want to double check, you know, trust but verify. Yeah, spend all this time working on all these rings just to have it, just to ruin it in a tumbler. I don't think there's really going to be an issue. I gotta get small enough pieces of ceramic. But anyway, I will figure it out. So tomorrow is baseball night. So I will be out playing baseball with my son until late. So I'll be streaming tomorrow night. And I have a lot of stuff to do around the house, so we've got our seeds going. So I gotta build those garden beds. Do have to do that. Maybe I'll do that this weekend. Sounds like a good weekend project. All right. There we go. I don't like this song. There we go. All right. It's coming along. We're getting there. That looks better without the glasses. Looks like ones I've seen in movies. This might have to be wider, right? It is actually covering my eyes a little bit, so I don't want that. Ugh. I can't tell if that's straight or not because everything 15 inches past my face is a blur. But it is a little baggy back here. Huh. I wonder if I can start to... If I should start... Do a contraction seam and then an expansion seam to come out. Seems baggy. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I need it. Well, we're just going to keep going with what we're doing right now because I'm not changing any of my design plans on the fly at this moment. So, alrighty guys. Thanks so much everyone for hanging out. I do appreciate you being here and all your input and commentary and just, you know, your general presence. Please, don't forget that I won't be here Wednesday, and then I will see you guys all on Thursday night. Alright? You guys all have a wonderful night. I will talk to you all later. Bye. Once I find my button.